Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LARP Tales podcast. My name is Oliver. I'm one half of your hosting duo. With me, as always, is my co-host Robin, and also joining us on this show is our guest Eoin. Eoin this year ran a LARP in Bonnie, Scotland called Warriors of Middle-earth, a LARP heavily inspired by Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. We talk about the inception of the game. We talk about what it was like to run a game, especially in a place where there's not a huge LARP community currently. We also talk about Eoin's time at a Witcher LARP over in Poland some years ago. If you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, click subscribe. If you're new to the Two Hammond to Roll universe, if you're listening on an audio platform, give us all the stars. If you want to support us in other ways, go check out our Patreon, go check out all the links down in the show notes and the description. I'll also put all of the links for the games that we discuss in today's episode, like how to find Warriors of Middle-earth, where there will be another game running if you are interested. And with that all out of the way, let's get into our conversation with Eoin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the LARP Tales podcast. We have Eoin joining us today. Thank you for coming on, Eoin. Welcome to the show.
Glad to be here.
Right, so we're going to talk about your LARP, Eoin, but just out of because despite our best efforts, this hobby is still so niche. People are always interested to know how people actually got into this hobby. So why don't you give us the down low on how you got into LARP and how long you've been doing it for?
I got into it in like 2015, I'd say, when The Witcher 3 came out. I worked in a video game shop at the time. I remember seeing it. I hadn't played Witcher 1 or 2, saw it and went, I gave it a try. I saw it stuff at E3, bought it, played it, and was like, this is amazing. Everyone who's played Witcher 3, you just know it's just like so crazy. I remember thinking at that point, it's like an adult Fable. I was like, this is like the game I wanted when I was younger. This is the kind of thing I wanted to do.
Yeah, because 2015, that's like, I mean, just trying to think, because that's like pre Game of Thrones, obviously, as well. So
I'm not too sure if Game of Thrones going on. It's not at that time, but then I showed it to Emma and was like, my girlfriend at the time was like, you've got to play this. This is such a cool game, because Emma had played games, but she's really selective with the games she plays. Like she'll play like what she really likes. So when she played Witcher 3, she was like, done. That's all she played after that. I was gonna say, so we would like share the one copy. She would come over to my house. She would play it when I was work. I'd come back from work and she'd play it, and then I'd play it. So we're like sharing it. We're really obsessed with it. And then my friend, me and Emma and Mike, my friend Michael, were kind of like trio. Michael was unlucky. Was like a third wheel that was constantly around with us. but we were all playing The Witcher. We were all obsessed with it, but we were all talking about going on holiday together. Mm-hmm. And I think the idea initially was Japan. And we were like, okay, saving up money. And Emma's just sent us this link out of the blue for Witcher School. And we were like, what the is Witcher School? Starts reading, it's like a LARP. And Emma, the best way Emma could relate it to me was like, it's like that film Role Models. If you've seen
Role Models, yeah.
I was like, and like when I had watched Role Models, I was like, yeah, that looks stupid.
Yeah,
that look. I'd want to do it.
Yeah.
So we all watched it. Went, that's a terrible representation of LARP. Yeah. But we kind of want to do it.
Yeah, you don't feel bad for that, because I didn't start LARPing until like I was well into my 30s, and yeah, I'd always like looked at LARP as like the bottom of the barrel of geekdom. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll paint minis, I'll do tabletop, I'll play D&D, I'll do cosplay, but I'll never do that.
It's like so funny because like I used to talk about having a Rolodex of nerd stuff where I was like, there's just stuff in there that I haven't touched. Like I've not touched Magic the Gathering. That's just one thing I've just not touched yet. I don't think. So it's one thing I've been like, I don't do that and stuff like that. So I've been like, I just want adding stuff. Like I've never played World of Warcraft up until like 5 years ago. Then Michael got me hooked on that. So it's just I've been adding stuff. But Magic the Gathering is that thing where I go, I'd never play that. Oh, but some of the cards look real cool.
Oh, the cards, and also there's now like Lord of the Rings which we'll get to it later. But there's all they keep bringing out these new IPs, which are like
they have dinosaur ones.
Yeah, they have dinosaur ones now. no.
I stopped playing it for ages. I was like, I'm not playing it anymore. And then they brought out dinosaurs. I was like, I just want the dinosaurs.
Yeah, it is. I mean, they call the people in the community call it like cardboard crack because it is like it's so addictive, but it's so expensive as well. Yeah. So it's like, it's
why is everything like this like really nerdy and really cool? They go, we'll slap the biggest form of ticket on it, like they like miniature building, like any sort of that. It's just like cool. You want to get into it? Better ruin your bank. I don't think there's, apart from Henry Cavill, there's not really any rich nerds who are that into it. But
not and usually nerds want to do all of the stuff. Like, so I'm like you. I'm like I want to LARP, but I kind of have to like prioritize that over getting into miniatures or getting into Magic the Gathering or getting into gaming in a big way. So gaming is you can spend a lot of money on that, but most geeky hobbies are very expensive.
Yeah, but so we got really obsessed with like The Witcher, and like we were gonna, like, Emma sent a thing about LARP, and I was like, okay, I read over it, and it was like the pitch is so insane. It's like you go to Poland with no, like, you go to Poland with no characters.
It's abroad as well.
Yeah, you never heard about Witcher School?
No.
Oh, but you wait for the fucking time of your life. So the pitch is you go to Poland, you essentially go to this big like hotel, but they say it's like a Witcher like academy kind of like it's like before everything went to shit. You guys are Witchers in training. You're all there for whatever reason. And you go to, there's like, you get a timetable of classes that you go to that are like monster hunting, alchemy, survival, bunch of other stuff that like they teach you. But essentially, so Emma pitched the idea of the ticket was like, I think it was like, no joke, like £250. Yeah. So it was spenny. But they were really good, but they let you pay it up, and they let you, there was like a lot of different ways you could
do really?
it.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we had to buy a plane ticket. Then we flew over there. Had to figure out all this stuff about staying there. We stayed. It's like so funny because none of us had ever actually traveled together, and Emma had taken over that. Emma was really good at getting all that organized.
Yeah.
So we flew over to Poland with nothing and we'd never been to a LARP. We spent all this money, got to the airport, met up with everyone else who was doing it.
Did you have like, so because this is something that really interests me, being like a creator of like media for the hobby, was there any like could you apart from like reading about it, was there any pictures or anything like that, or any like video of what the experience was going to be like?
There was one picture on the website of this girl running through arrows, and I went, looks cool enough.
Yeah, that's good. Cool. There's no arrows around here. May as well go.
This was the second episode they were doing. That was like an international run. They had an international run and a Polish run. So we get to the airport, and it's like, okay, they call out your name, everybody get in this coach, and then they emailed you like a character backstory that was just like, you're this character, this is your name, this is what your goals are, blah blah blah.
Interesting. Okay.
That you've got a goal to do this. It was really funny because I got one that was called Ivar. His father was killed by a soldier, and he wanted to go like avenge him. Emma's was like, she was a rich socialite girl, but her mother was killed in a wagon ride. Now she wants to go avenge her. And Michael got this character. I don't know why when you write for a character, you don't write a terrible one. They called him Bedwig. And they went, your name's Bedwig, and you don't want to be at the school. You don't want to be there. Just go in and steal something and leave. And Michael went, I'm not paying all this money to not want to be there.
What? So you had no like pre-say of like what?
No,
you just
got, no, nothing.
Right, okay.
They just gave you, and then that's kind of what you had to go, which was kind of like a cool kind of skill to kind of like help you pick up when it gets to the other LARPs. But like, so Michael then got his character redone. He was Kywin. So then we went there. Got in a coach, drove about 2 hours outside of main Poland, so we're in the middle of nowhere. Didn't realize how deeply religious Poland is. There's a lot of like different like Catholic kind of things going up, so it gets kind of like, am I going to somewhere that's going to sacrifice me kind of vibes? So I can't remember the hotel, but it's a wedding hotel essentially they booked out, and it's a fantastic hotel. It's like massive. It looks like a castle, has a massive back bit, a fountain that leads into woods. Lovely place. And while you're there, they feed you, There's accommodation there. Everything's kind of like you can just like it's a really like the whole rooms were not bad. They were really nice rooms, and they had like a lot of good stuff going for them.
How many days was it over? Was this like over a weekend?
So it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but it was full day Sunday. It wasn't like half day Sunday like some LARPs are. They were full day Sundays. So yeah, it was Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we arrived there. It's pretty late. They're getting people signed in, but it was a massive queue. So they did that, and then obviously we came with no kit because they tell you to come with no kit. So they went. So we go down and they go, okay, because you're only amateur, you're like novices here. You're wearing a brown gambeson, white shirt, brown trousers, and then that's it.
Yeah,
whatever. My gambeson did not fit me. Michael's trousers didn't fit him, and Emma's shirt didn't fit her. All this stuff, just like it was like obviously like it was like they tried to accommodate everyone, but it didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Again, it was their second event, so whatever. So yeah, now we're all sitting there, haven't eaten all day because we're on this bus, we're waiting there, and they go, because it took a while for everything to start, we'll do game start after food. So we go in, and there's like it's a buffet they have. Every meal over the 3 days is a buffet. So it's like morning, and it was a really good. The catering was really, really like, high standard. It was wedding catering. So then we go in, we eat stuff. It's like, oh yeah, it's no problem. Eat to heart's content. Sit down. One thing I've not mentioned yet is when you sign up for this LARP, they go, this is not a LARP for the faint of heart. It is treated like a boot camp. You go, you're gonna train to be witchers. I was like, okay, no problem.
Okay.
They fed us, and then went game in time. All right, you piece of shit, go run around the fountain. So we'd all just eaten, and then they forced like 200 people just to run around this fountain, and we were all gonna die. And like it was super, super hungry. I'm not an athletic person to begin with. So then like they do that, split you into groups, and it's like, oh, you get given an NPC who's like your group leader, and you kind of go to them. And then they go, don't worry, got the rest of the night off, just kind of like more just kind of talk and stuff like that. Again, novices also aren't allowed weapons, so there's no combat. It's just like they ran the shit out of you and then went, here you go. What was I going to say? Yeah, then we all got put in our groups. We all had like a good time. And then I remember going back up to the room with Emma, turning to her and go, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to leave.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I got like I'm feeling like I'm feeling empathetic like anxiety for you at this, because I know how I would feel if I've flown all the way to Poland. I'm like, what is this going to be like? And then having food, and then be like, what is LARP going to be like? And then someone like telling me to go run around the grounds.
Like, so the other crazy thing, I'll keep talking this, but like there's only a couple of 2 or 3 more points I want to hit about Witcher School, but like,
don't worry.
They also in the morning wake you up at 7 to do morning exercise.
Nah.
Nope.
So they come round and they bash on the fucking doors, because like they give you the option of some rooms being in character, out of character. Room was always out of character.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. They came and kicked in the door and was like, if you don't get there now, there's gonna be trouble. Blah blah blah. So I go down. You do the morning exercise. Poland's different from the UK. There's different safety stuff, but I'll try and get the photos of it and send to you guys. But like, on the Saturday morning, the exercise was a guy got on a real horse, and chased us. He chased us all the way to the woods and then chased us back.
Wild.
But the guy, so he was chased us. Didn't have he wasn't obviously saddled right. Fell off the fucking horse onto his back. Had a fucking full metal sword in his back, like a full real one. Emma goes up to him and goes, are you okay? Just starts screaming at her, like, go back, start running more. And he gets up and starts running. Like, I was like, fuck. That was the point I was like, we're in a different place with different rules. I just have to survive. I also want to point out at this point.
Are you sure you went to the right place? Like, did you go to the Witcher LARP? Or
I went to this like 4 or 5 times, man.
Accidentally end up in someone's like weird like wedding or something.
Yeah, but it was so like. I also want to point out at this point they had not given us containers to drink water from, so they were like, they were just like, don't worry, you'll get at one point, and they're just glass bottles, like the Heineken bottles with the kind of the weird flash top that you pop off. And so they come down during science class, which is magic class, and it's like we're all blowing down this one thing, and it looks kind of cool. They do it really well, where they put a dummy up, put your hand towards, they pull the dummy, it looks like it falls down, and then it's really cool. And they speak to you a lot about like, it's weird because a lot of that was meditation, really. Like you're sitting down and kind of like they tell you like go inside your cell and go like you're now a deep pool of ocean. They had like people who were running the NPCs were like some of the best I still have ever seen.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, they were really good. But I was gonna say, yeah, so during the class they come down and they give us these bottles of water and they're like, there you go. Here's these glassings of water. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like so thirsty. Go drink it. It's all sparkling water. So I just like I get like fizzed out of my brain and then just like spit it all out. I'm like, why is this sparkling? In Poland, it's just like that's the thing they drink. And I'm like,
I just want to go home.
yeah. And so then we go spill it out and go pour it up and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's quite adult and quite full on and quite like they beat us up for the entire weekend. One thing they did that was like, this has never been done a lot again because why would it? But they had this guy out there who was teaching survival who I think was ex-army, and we went out to him and he was talking to us about like sometimes your witcher won't like heal you. You have to like figure out when you're on a road and you're hungry, you have to like you can't just buy stuff. Sometimes you have to go and hunt it. So we're going to teach you how to survive. So then he was like walking us through this class of like, here's how to do this, this, and that. Also, we're going to learn how to skin a rabbit. And I was like, okay, he'll have like a fake rabbit, right? Seriously. So, no, goes out to this box, picks up the rabbits, which I think, to be fair, had like something wrong with them, but.
Like myxomatosis or something like
that.
Yeah,
so brings them out, puts it on it, and he's holding it by the ears, and he's asked another person who's just flown there to grab it by its legs, and he goes, who wants to kill it? And he gives it to our American pal, and our American pal just goes, and it's the first time I've ever seen anything like that happen. Head comes off, blood everywhere, and he goes, okay, this is also now you're going to learn how to skin it, so everyone's going to help skin it. Robin's face! So this happens at a LARP. They kill a fucking rabbit. And
why did you come back to LARP?
I know, I'm waiting for the moment where you go, and then I had a good time. And
I woke up and it was all a dream. And then this is a real Witcher LARP.
But yeah, they cut off its head, and then me and Emma they were showing us how to skin it, which I'd never seen a rabbit skin.
Yeah,
and I didn't know.
It's like taking the glove off. Yeah.
It just goes. Yeah. It's like so weird. But we were walking around and Emma went, he has to teach all these groups to do this. And there's like 15 groups. And he was like, so how many rabbit heads do you think are in these woods? And I was like, I don't want to think about it, Emma. I don't want to think about how many rabbits he's killed today. But he didn't care. He had like this cozy little campfire set up. And he had like a barrel of wine. And he was just like, the guy who was teaching it was obviously just like different, cut from a different cloth. And he was like, he had showed us how to cook the rabbit and how to make sure like it was nothing. So it was actually quite cool and useful.
That is quite cool, yeah.
Some stuff I still remember. There's some stuff like that I'll remember.
I feel like it's cool, but I feel like it's something that you want to like sign up for, as in like, I want to do this thing. I am definitely going to be killing, skinning, and eating rabbits. I'm totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about just being blindsided by it.
there was no like warning. There was nothing like, oh, this is the only thing they did. It was like a boot camp, and you had to like be kind of. It was going to be quite physical, so I'd kind of known that, but I didn't expect to feed this before. But like, the guy who chopped the head off, he gave the rabbit's foot too, so it was like he got like a little memento out of it. And then, we did all that, and then a lot of other stuff happened that week, and we could do a full podcast with like other people who went to who are just like some crazy shit and just like whatever. But then I remember the point where I realized that I felt so. There's a whole story going on at this point of like people were trying to steal Witcher mutagens, and there's a lot of cool stuff going on there. You could skip classes. If you skip classes, you would get punished, and there was a really cool system for that. But like, so like there was also this church that was also a laboratory. And like we were all waiting for our dinner. Before dinner, shit kicked off. Like people been found in the laboratory, students. So they brought them out, and then everybody was like, "Oh, you're going to be kicked out of the school. You're now kicked out. You're going to get kicked out of the school because you've been fucking around." And I remember the guy who was supposed to be the Grand Master, the guy who was in charge, walked out with a real sword, unsheathed it, and just like planted it in the ground. As like, we're going to have a vote. I don't know what it was about his performance. But I was like, I feel like I'm in a fucking Game of Thrones episode. So it must have been Game of Thrones. So I was like, this feels like I'm in an episode or something. And it's cool. And it feels fucking awesome. That's when I was like, oh man, this might become my new fucking thing.
Yeah.
So we all had a vote. It was like really cool. And then like, that was Got a lot more stuff happening, but we'll just say that's kind of like the basis of Witcher School. So we did that, and we kept going. Like it was a yearly thing. We'd go back to Poland. It was really cool because it was international. So we met people from like Italy, from America, from like we met another person from Australia, stuff like that.
One game a year, then was it like
for international? So they did used to do one run, but then they started doing more runs, and there was a couple of Polish runs, and also what was really cool about each of them was like the NPCs would switch roles, and then so you'd hear about stuff happening in an international one that didn't happen yours, almost like it was like a multiverse. This didn't happen then, that happened there. And it was like, okay, that kind of like that's kind of cool. But we only went to the one run, and it was kind of like fun. But towards the end, tickets got to like £400. And like we were saying to organizers, they were saying all the money you give is going back into improve the game. We never saw that. We just kind of saw like it was getting the same thing. Now I think about it now, some of the monster outfits weren't the best. They were kind of falling apart, and they're also like to kind of throw a critique at the game. And like there was some stuff about like, again, you being given a character. A whole bunch of stuff now is kind of like, okay, and we had kind of started to fall out of love with it just because like going to Poland each year and getting to see people was fun, but like the whole game was just not being as good as we thought it could be, and it wasn't just like it wasn't coming to an ending. They said they were only going to do 5 episodes, but it stretched to 7, and it was just like, oh, okay, we're kind of see where this is going.
Because you feel like, oh, I don't want to miss out on one. And then it just keeps going and going and going.
They had caught some people with a real cult mentality of just like, oh, keep coming back and just like spend all your money. And there's a lot of people I know who are just like wanting to go to everyone just because it was just like a really cool sense of just like community we had there. But it just started to get too kind of like and like financially valuable for me. But then I think a year later, the company that ran Witcher School, 5 Elements, a lot of stuff went on with it, but they had to shut down for like some pretty severe reasons. So the company just collapsed in, and me and Emma were like, I don't know what to do now. Like we honestly thought like we don't know any other LARPs that go on in England or like Scotland. There's nothing. We have no clue. We'd only been to this LARP in Poland for the past 4 years. Then we'd heard about Northern Kingdoms, the first event in Northern Kingdoms. I saw the event was going to happen, so I messaged Simon at the time, who I messaged the Northern Kingdoms account, was like, hey, are there any tickets available? And he says, no, there's no tickets available. But he said, I looked over your profile, saw you had Witcher School stuff. Do you want to come and crew? Because he says you've been to Witcher School, you must be like, okay. I was like, okay. Never crewed a lot before, never done anything like that. Me and Emma get in our car, we drive down, have our first ever like kind of crewing thing. And I'm not,
because where is it held, Northern Kingdoms? I've never been to Northern.
It changes every time.
Yeah.
Every time
is that
it
the
changes.
One where they do like they've done ones in like caves and they've done ones in
Yeah. So the first one was held in Kent or Leeds. No, it's Leeds. And it's like in this old like Viking village with a Roman fort as well. It has in it. It's like a museum site. I went there, and if anyone wants to, sorry if I'm just talking for like fucking.
No.
It's literally why we want you here.
You saw me the charity live stream. You're like, this guy could do an episode.
This is.
It was me straight after it came up, and I was like, just get him on. He can talk. He can talk about it.
He can talk about LARP. That's the name of the game.
He's excited and wants to talk about LARP.
Man, it's all I want to talk about. So yeah, we did our first crew experience. Went there, didn't know anything. Didn't know Simon. Only knew Emma. So I didn't know how crewing worked in my head. So you just said come and play this character. I was like, no problem. Didn't bring a tent. Didn't bring a sleeping bag. Didn't bring anything. I was just like, I'll come and show up, and like surely there'll be something sorted. And I got there, and I started flowing together. No, there's nothing's been sorted. We had to sleep in the Roman village. There was like huts that we could sleep in, but I didn't bring anything, so I slept on the floor with one blanket. And Emma had brought stuff but refused to share it with me. And to this day says it was a worthwhile lesson that I had to learn.
I would get on with them.
I think she was still in Witcher School mode.
She's mean, man. When we killed those rabbits, Emma was like, no problem. Emma's a different type of person just because like she's grew up country, so that phase her. But like, yeah, she was just like, it's a lesson Ian's got to learn. And so like we go back to, I should also say I was there with my friends Joey, Tia, and Sam, who also went to Witcher School, people we'd met from England. This is why I said on the charity stream that like growing up in Scotland, you get kind of reinforced like you hate the English, you hate them, and I'm like, I don't know. And then I met English people go like, I don't really think I do hate them. They're actually really nice. They're just people.
No, we're all right.
It's crazy that. It's crazy that when,
I mean, the thing is, I get this context as much as anyone, because I moved. I know whereabouts you kind of live, and I moved to that area when I was about 17, and I remember because I'm from near the Welsh borders, down here. And I always thought, the Scottish English thing it's like the English Welsh thing, it's just a bit of a bit of banter. And I went up there, I was like, there's people here that have never actually spoken to anyone.
No, man, there's some people, and when they speak to one, they're like, wish death upon his family. And there's some people who are just like they're so crazy about it. Yeah, but again, through LARP, I met people and we're like, change my mindset. I'm not such a piece of shit anymore. So then, but then still a bit of one, but not fully. So these people went to go crew in this. The crew room is probably smaller than the room I'm in right now. Simon would tell it. There wasn't really any encounters, and there wasn't really here's a sheet. This is what you're going to do. It was like, who wants to play this character? Blah, blah, blah. It was like, whatever. What would really happen was the players would come to us and go, we want to go fight bandits, and then we'd go dress up as bandits and fight them. And then that was kind of the only thing that was happening. The first event, it rained a little bit. It was kind of, I remember somebody's tent got completely flooded and stuff like that, and it was a bit it's a bit dicey. But I met really a lot of nice people. Niall and Claire are super people that I still really like through LARP. They go to Empire and stuff like that. They're really, really nice people. But I met them. Lovely people. It's so funny. I love when you meet people at LARP, because you'll meet the problem usually in character and go like, I'm Bobbling the Goblin. Blah, blah, blah.
Bobbling the Goblin. Probably another Witcher school character.
But then after LARP, you go, actually, no, my name's Theodore and I study theoretical physics. And you're like,
yeah.
No, I don't know what you're talking about. Because Niall and Claire have got a really, really nice, cool job. And it's a tough job, but they've got a really cool job. And it's really impressive when you hear about it. So that's another part of LARP I love seeing. It's just that kind of bit. But the first Northern Kingdoms was, I think even Samuel was a bit of a clusterfuck. It was a bit like none of us knew what we were doing. We were just trying to make it work, which is why the second event was a lot better, because they brought on Tom, who does a lot of the Witcher School writing right now. Witcher School, Northern Kingdoms writing right now, and he actually made it run better. Simon's a great at ideas, it seems like, but and stuff like that, and he's great at running an event, but. It's why he kind of got Tom involved, because Tom's really good at organizing and getting what he's writing down. They're a great team when it comes to that kind of thing. And we went to Northern Kingdoms. It only got better. We went to Northern Kingdoms for ages. Like you said, the first event was in this small little thing. The second event was in Silverwood Scouts Hall, which is kind of but these were all in England. Yeah. There was one that was in Wales, so we had to drive 8 hours one day and 8 hours the next. There's one that's at the bottom of England, and we were like, fucking hell, we're running ourselves fucking ragged here trying to go to these LARPs. We could surely there's some in Scotland we can go to. The only one I can really find next to me is Fools and Heroes and Mugdock, which if it's your kind of thing, I'd go to, but it wasn't. It was in public, which is why I like my hobbies. I just don't want to see people me run around.
Not LARP.
I don't want to be perceived. So there's public there. In Mugdock, and they do a thing where you play your hero and then halfway through you change. It's kind of a cool way to do it. It's just not my cup of tea, so I was just not wanting to do that. Nothing in Scotland. There's no LARP. There's a couple up.
There's a few niche ones. I know there's I think there's a 40k one that's in Dundee and things like that. But I think they're quite.
There's some that are about, but there's not a massive community. Go down to England, there's fucking Empire, there's all this other shit, and there seems to be quite a lot happening especially with iLARP, which is
we've done a small fraction of the games they do in so doing some of the iLARP stuff or some of the Eversley stuff this year plus Empire, we filled up. I think we figured out the other day that a fifth of our weekends this year have just been LARPing. We're
literally going next week to Eversley. For an LARP.
Eversley is such a cool site, because I remember we went back there with Northern Kings. We did an event back in it was just after COVID. So it was just after COVID, and we had a really nice. It was in November though, so it was cold. But it was a really cool site, and I went back there a couple of weeks ago actually to do portents. And
Okay.
it's like, okay, no problem. Went there. It's so cool to see a site that doesn't just like kind of like we built it, that's it. They're always improving. They've got new stuff. And it was cool to walk into the West Town and go like, oh, cool, this used to be like 4 houses, and now it's like 10 or like 12. It's just like fucking built out, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to see that. But like, we didn't really have anything like that again up in Scotland. So I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was kind of like, I was writing for Northern Kingdoms, but what I wanted to write wasn't really working with them, and we were clashing quite a lot. Of like, I wanted to do something, but then Tom would go, well, this is how he feels about it, and me and Tom were clashing quite a lot, and it wasn't the best thing of just like when you go there and the thing you wanted to write, which is fair enough. It's not my event, and Tom had an idea for what he wanted to write, but when you write something and then like it gets changed and it's just not the thing you want to do anymore, it's upsetting. But I wasn't someone who was like going to go like, meh. Get upset. But through Northern Kingdoms, we'd met a bunch of people. We'd met like I've got like a crazy close group of friends that are like 10 to 12 people who are all behind making Rome and Bastion, who've all come together through different parts of LARP and through different skills. We've all just like really great, all really get on, and we're all quite we'd all go to Northern Kingdoms every year. It slowly started becoming about us all meeting up and not about the LARP really, and us just having fun. So we started to fall slowly out of love with Northern Kingdoms, just for the writing. Everyone in our group at least had experienced it, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I got to say that as what I say. It's like we had different views on what we wanted to do, so I can understand like them wanting to go a different direction. So we were like, what do we do? We're all creatively stunted. We're all like really bunch of talented people who wanted to do it. We didn't know what we were going to do. I remember we were still maybe flirting with the idea of going to Northern Kingdoms or doing a Northern Kingdoms event in Scotland.
Okay, yeah.
So it could be like Skellig or whatever. And my mum I was speaking to my mum, but like I think just LARP, and she was like, oh, she used to be an ironing lady. She ran her own business for years, and she would iron clothes. And she's like, oh, one of the people I know who's a casting director or like a costume person, this plays up the back of Denny, but she's got all this kind of Viking village. It would look really cool. And I was like, nah, Mum, you hold your beast. You don't know what you're talking about. you know what LARP is, Mum. Push my glasses up.
Yeah.
But Emma had looked again. This is where Emma comes in clutch. She was like, she looked at it and was like, this site's a little bit more than we think it is. And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I mean,
that.
So for context, like I don't want to like, you know, bad mouth a town, right? But I used to work up and around Denny, where this is. So a lot of people in England haven't been to Scotland either. So they go, oh, something in Scotland is going to be beautiful. Now, I've been to Denny. So I would have been there. So I understand your like pessimism when someone says there's an amazing LARP site in Denny. Because when I heard that, I was like, wait, what?
I'm originally from Cumbernauld, which is again a shit town to begin with. But then we all make fun of Falkirk for being a shit town.
Yeah.
And Denny's like Falkirk's idiot little brother. Like it's like even worse. And so we were like, wow, we don't even think about Denny. And Mum was like, go up to the back of the hills. And I was like, okay, we bought tickets to this Viking event, got there, and like there was a bunch of people in costume. The outfits looked really good. They go walk up the hill. It's a big ass hill to get up to the fort. So you walk up the hill. It's also like it's like a laid path. It's not like a shit path, but it's a laid path all the way up, and you can kind of see it on the hill. But because it's built like an actual really good fort, you can only see the walls, so you can't really like see it. So you go up around this thing that's called the Murder Gate, small enclosed door, bits on top. If it's for like if a siege, like it'd be harder for a large army to get through.
Yeah,
walk through it. Opens up into this massive courtyard with a list in the middle, so like you can do like fighting. There's a fucking giant catapult that sits in there as well. You can walk around the battlements. There's other things that stab. I could talk about this.
Yeah, honestly, like we've seen the pictures of it. It's like still we were looking at the pictures the other day when we were talking about getting you on, and I was like, oh my god, it is beautiful. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's such a really really lovely site. And I remember being there going, I was like, I could run an event for Northern Kingdoms here, or I could run my own. And it is the only time my girlfriend, but now my wife, turned to me and went, yeah, I think you could do that. You're probably like, you're really talented. And she complimented me and was like, I think you could really do that. And I went, well, if she thinks I can.
Yeah. That's a real partner.
Yeah. So then I went to our group and I said, if we were going to run a LARP, what would we want it to be about? And a couple of ideas were thrown back and forth, and we were kind of like, didn't know. And I said, what about Lord of the Rings? If we're going to do it in Scotland, if we're going to do it and try and launch our own thing, Lord of the Rings is the easiest thing to do, because like, who hasn't seen the films? Who doesn't like the films? Even heard of the books? It's a massive thing.
So what was the main? Because obviously, Witcher School, Witcher franchise, Northern Kingdoms, Witcher. What was the main reason you didn't want to do a LARP in that IP?
I'll say yet, but like,
yeah.
Witcher and kind of like that whole vibe is such a. It's gonna sound so weird. It's such a big part of who I am now. It's gonna sound so weird, but like through Witcher, me and Emma went on our first trip. Like we met all our friends and stuff like that. It's such like it's become such a big part of who I am, and I feel like I didn't want to run my first event there because I've not gained all of, like the things I need to be able to run it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a couple of things you're gonna run to your like sixth event, and I want when I make Witcher School, it's gonna be, or when I make a Witcher, not Witcher School, that's dead. when I make my Witcher LARP, it's gonna be like my magnum opus, my kind of like my pride and joy. Yeah. Not saying WOM isn't, but WOM is my first event I've ran. So
yeah.
We switched to Lord of the Rings because, again, everyone knows it. I'm a massive fan of Lord of the Rings like movies. Like I carry, actually, I have in my wallet, I carry a USB stick which has all the Lord of the Rings extended on them.
Yeah.
So like whenever I run
a hold of it, right? Keep a hold of it. The only DVDs I currently own, I own Blu-rays and DVDs, are of the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy, and that because I threw out all the other, when streaming started becoming a thing, I threw all the rest of it out, and I was like, I'm going to keep these because I like having them, but also now because now things get changed, like on streaming services, like, oh, we're taking that out. We're taking it. I'm like, no. Now these are sacred tomes that no one can change now.
It's so funny because like everything else is getting taken out, and they're. I've recently heard them talking about what if we do another extended version of Lord of the Rings, because they have some footage they've not used still, and like they were like, maybe we'll use more. So I think if there's things getting taken out, if people are like, can you put more into it, please?
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Lord of the Rings, like the movies and stuff like that. I tried to read when I was younger. My eyes and my mind just don't allow it, because I'll read a book and I'll start reading a sentence or a paragraph, and I'll start thinking about something else, and I'll look down and I'm 2 pages ahead, and I'm like, I don't know where I've read.
You're like that, Robin, right?
Yeah, that's exactly.
I wish I knew how to read because there's so read. There's so many great books out there. There's so many great kind of stuff that it just like doesn't get. It's not going to get turned into a movie. And it's not going to get turned into a show.
Also, most of the stuff, with the exception of Lord of the Rings by Peter Jackson, most of the stuff that gets turned from a book into a film just is inadequate to the story. They're not good interpretations of the story. So it's always a shame when you hear people that struggle to read or don't like reading, and they're into fantasy, and you're like, that really, as of right now, fantasy is still pretty much a literary medium, you know.
That's the thing, like, because there's so many like fantasy things. I'm like, I would like to be able to read, and I tried again. Like 2 years ago, I was like, I'm going to read The Hobbit, kids book. I'm going to read The Hobbit, and I'm going to get through this book. I got 2 chapters into it, and it took me a ridiculous length of time, and I was like, I just can't do it. I'm trying so hard. I'm just gonna watch it. Forget
it. But yeah, I love the films, keep watching them. But I have my best friend Michael, who is I'm a nerd. This guy is one of the biggest nerds I've ever met in my life. This guy lives and breathes, like, especially Lord of the Rings, where he's read the books countless times. He has favorite audio recordings. He has favorite ones that are like the 1980 recording of like on this tape.
He's hardcore.
He's hardcore. He loves them. He knows about all the background shit, which is a lot to learn about. So I knew going into a LARP like this, I could just go, Michael, does this make sense? Does this make sense from that? But the crazy thing, one of the crazier things is once you've nailed down a setting of where you want your LARP to be, then you have to name that time place. And you have to think about, are you going to break lore? Are you going to bend it? Or are you just going to like go with the lore? Going with the lore is super hard to do. Not impossible, super hard to do because like you'll see it. Because like when you're doing creative stuff, sometimes rules to have in place are a good thing because like it'll kind of knock the crazier ideas out of you and stuff like that. Like a sexy Shelob. Stuff like that. Those kind of ideas just get pitched to you and you're like, we can't do it because of lore. So what we do is we kind of slightly bend it, just to, like, we're not going to snap it all the way, but we kind of want to do something that's like fun, different.
Yeah.
So we can't. I watched the films for research purposes, obviously.
Yeah, of course,
and again. But, and was like, what's a really cool area? And then we were initially gonna do that you were part of like a regiment that were like helping with the siege of Osgiliath. And like orcs were continuously just attacking you, and like there was like stuff there, but we were like, there's not a lot you can really do there because eventually they all know you lose there. You eventually lose there, and
yeah.
So then Michael was like, the Dunedin Rangers are like such really cool, like a cool group thing. He says they're talked about, but they're not massively like. There's not honestly a massive amount of lore about them. There is some, but it's not like blown out of proportion. So then I was like, cool, we have that kind of thing, but where do we set it? And we set it 4 years before Bilbo's birthday because there's some stuff going on, like that whole Hobbit stuff and the whole like Smaug. It's ended, but it's enough years past.
That is the best. So I think most, if not all, I don't know for sure, but all the TTRPGs that have ever been released, like the settings for TTRPGs, they're all set within that 80 year span between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, because you can reference The Hobbit for your players who know the world. It's going to be familiar for people who know Lord of the Rings, and you can foreshadow Lord of the Rings. Also, there's like a building tension because like evil's going to be about somewhere, but not the entire world knows it.
Yeah, so that's why like Michael's like we can do a really slow ramping up of like because Sauron attacks like Rohan, he attacks Minas Tirith, but Bree is also like this weird like town that used to be quite a big kind of kingdom fallen, and now it's like this market town. It's kind of like New York City. It's a piece of shit. It's just like no one cares about Bree, and we're like, it'd be really cool if there was like he initially tried to like take that and just to like he was just trying to destroy that just to see what he can't almost test his powers. A lot of stuff arriving up to it, so we're like, cool. Well, what we'll do is we'll put these Dunedain Rangers who are in the north and around there. They have said they're going to guard Bree and they're going to keep it safe, and that's kind of thing. But then I said to Michael, it'd be really cool if like you even see in Lord of the Rings, there's not a lot of them left. They're all very like kind of scarcely about, and they all have to take care of their own duties. And we like the idea of it being this fort being old fashioned and being like Dunedain don't really have forts anymore because that's a place for the enemy to come and destroy you. But our group of Dunedain still do have their fort, and they still have like a way to kind of like their homestead essentially. So then once we had the setting, once we had like the place we were going, like it was all going to go, we were really kind of happy with that. This is going to sound weird. I had the idea, wrote down bullet points. I had like 20 or so bullet points, put it in a Google folder, put it away, and didn't think about it for 3 months because I was like, I don't want to just rush into this. It's not something I want to be like, this is something I want to do. I just waited 3 months of kind of like thinking about ideas. We went back to it, and then we were like, we edited stuff we liked. And then I started putting like encounters together. And the one thing you can't steal from like Witcher School and from Northern Kingdoms, the two LARPs that I've been to, because I still haven't been to like Empire or any other LARPs like that. But like, so I stole a lot of stuff that we liked we liked having NPCs in the camp that players could go to and speak to, and they were part of the world, and it was a good way to like feed in plot and kind of stuff like that. So we said there should be all the refs / NPCs should be wearing like they should be Dunedain and have their capes on, and like so like, the green cape kind of indicates that. So then we started putting stuff together of who was going to be what NPC, and like it started really working. What I did, which I think if you're going to run a LARP, honestly, I think it's going to be the case. If you're going to run a LARP and you're going to have somebody in a character and you don't really have a super amount of backstory for them, I said to everyone who was playing one of my NPCs, what do you want your NPC to be, and what do you like? What but give them an identity. I'm not going to give you the identity.
Yeah.
So Michael took on more of like Michael said he wanted to be the ideal ranger who was just like he was born and bred and he's not going to change from this, and he kind of like holds himself to a certain standard.
Yeah.
Our friend Brad wanted to be more of like a kind of scout person who was like always out hunting orcs, coming back like for the winter and never really being in the fort. Our friend James is more of kind of like he was like an idealist who wanted to see the grow again. So we had a lot of cool characters. And then I was like, fuck it, I'll be the guy who's in charge of the big kind of thing. And I could tell us now because like the first event's over, but like so I was like, but what I'll do on the first night to kind of like fucking make it crazy is I'll die. So like, also I'm running the event. I should be a character the entire time. So like on the first night, I had myself get killed. It was really cool. But like it also like I was in charge and like everyone was kind of like, oh, he's in charge. But as soon as I died, it creates that thing of like the players then just go, what the fuck did we do? And it just creates more. So yeah, we had so like finding the site, going for Lord of the Rings was a whole massive just like it was long. But because when I spoke to the guy who owned Duncarron Medieval Village, which is the site we're talking about, lovely site, was used as Fort Tunarak in Outlander season 6. It's been used in a couple of different things. The guy who runs it is like he's a stunt performer and he's done a bunch of other stuff. And he kind of knows what it is, but I spoke to him initially because I went and met him.
So you had an idea of what like you were doing, like you had an idea what LARP was and that,
he's quite an intimidating guy. He's a big kind of tough kind of guy. He's got a massive beard. It looks more Viking. In that Duncarron village, they have a clan. They have like a whole like community, and you can see they're all really friendly with each other, and they all really know each other. So it's really kind of intimidating for someone who's like me to go in and try and pitch them something. So I said to the guy who runs it, I said that his name's Charlie. I said, Charlie, I want to run a LARP. And he says, oh, I've always wanted to have LARP in here because he thought the site was really good for it. He knows what it is. He wants to get it in there. He said, have you ever had it? He said, we had one event and it was a revolutionary event and it was a capture the flag event. And he tried to explain to me, but I don't really remember. It was like the flag was on top of there and like the crew, there was two, the players were split and one of them were kind of English loyalists, the others were Americans. But apparently before the LARP started, it was over because they couldn't get into the fort because the English had just locked it. It's like, I guess that's what you can do with a fort and you can't get into it. And it's like, no, I guess that kind of ruins it. And he was like, yeah, it was. He
said, such a good thought.
Yeah, but yeah, it was kind of over. I mean, it was more turned into a piss up. And I was like, cool. And I said, I'm gonna base it then. So I went to like a meeting where I pitched the idea of Lord of the Rings and kind of what we were gonna do, and they gave us like stuff of what they can do. And Charlie was super, super nice because he wants to get more LARP in. He was like, what I'll do for the first event, it'll be half off just to kind of like help you with like costs. He's one of such a supportive person because like when I say like, oh, I've got this, he goes, oh, fuck it. He's such a different, he goes, fuck it, me, I've got that. I'll do that for you. Yeah. I remember like he told us he has a black powder license. And so like he can just like fire like weapons stuff like there.
That would be cool.
I remember one time for a pitch meeting, I was talking to him, and I said, "Oh, we have this idea for like this whole like little thing," and we were just talking about a small encounter size. And he says, "Well, if you pay me," he said, "I can build a building just for you to burn it down." And I was like, "Man, one day." But so he's this like he's got a group of guys who go up there and like maintain it and stuff like that and fix it. But yeah, the Duncarron Medieval Village is such like a cool site. But like I've had to pitch him and go like, I've got this idea for it's a 3-day event and players are going to stay there. And he was like, it's his fort. He was like, people are going to be like really like they're going to mess up the fort. I was like, no man, everyone's going to be respectful. I guarantee.
These are LARPers, yeah.
the only tents that are in the fort are going to be like in character tents and stuff like that, so it fits more with the world. And he was like, okay, cool. That's like 20% of putting this LARP together.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like, you got a venue and you got people on board. Then yeah,
again, and I had this group of like really really talented people in my crew, where I had like Seth who does blacksmithing, and he has a thing called Queen's Foundry where he just makes custom things. He's got a really cool way of doing it, where he like 3D prints it, puts it into the mold, takes it out, and then he can just use that mold to cast it. Yeah. So it's a really cool way of doing it. I was gonna say, and I've like there's some people who just like supporters, like my wife Emma, became crew mum because we had this idea of like when you go to a LARP, we think you should be like people are crewing should be fed, so we always feed our people at a LARP for free, and so people can come. And Emma became a big driving force behind that because her mum and dad. There's a couple of reasons, but her mum and dad have a bunch of catering stuff already. They had like a big massive water tank that was an urn. They had like one of those things like for like food that you put in like a metal. I don't know what it's called, but it keeps it warm.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. So they had that kind of stuff. So like we had a lot of stuff going for us. We had to write a story and stuff like that, and writing a story, and then what becomes
how did you find writing a story? Because I know that like I've not run a lot in that universe, but I've run like TTRPG campaigns in Lord of the Rings, and there actually is, I found, like massive scope for storytelling because the setting, I don't know if you found this, but the one thing about the setting is that there's not much communication between different parts, so things can be totally happening elsewhere. It's like even I mean, there's even a bit in The Hobbit where Elrond says something that's completely untrue, but that's basically just, but he hangs out in Rivendell, you know, so why would he know what was going on? Like, so that you can have some like big battle happen and some crazy stuff happening in Bree. Why the hell would people in the Shire ever hear about that?
Yeah, you know? It's like the whole, that's one of the main meshes of Lord of the Rings, because there's a whole bit when they all, Frodo, Sam, Pippin, they've all been through this fucking insane, they've all just come back. They come back, sit at the pub, and all they get is this guy with a massive pumpkin, and everybody in the pub's like, fucking, it's the massive pumpkin guy.
Yeah, it's the pumpkin, and life has continued, you know, and life is just the same there.
Yeah,
you know?
So it's just like, they don't hear about it, they don't care about it, and so like, it's always one of those cool things that there's so much in that world you can do. So like with the Dunedain, we like the idea of just like time fading and them all slowly kind of like going away, and kind of like people and like, but the players coming in to replace them. And we like the idea of like, so in the players side, we have human, dwarves, and elves. You can be. I didn't like letting people be hobbits because I just know that invites just like chaos, and just invites like a hobbit charging into battle and stuff like that. And
hobbit, like halflings, hobbits, gnomes, they're difficult for immersion, really.
Yeah, so like it gets kind of hard. But then we were making the story, there's a lot of different game mechanics when it comes. Like money is quite big in Northern Kingdoms, like economy. And some people love that. But whenever I see an economy get introduced, it's hard to do because sure, you're giving your players money, but you don't give them a lot to spend it on. And so some people end up with like, I've got 100 gold and I don't give a shit. Here's so like they don't really care about the money. They get it, but they don't care about it. So I was like, Lord of the Rings, they only mention the money in the Hobbit. They only ever mention, like, they really don't mention it at all. Let's just take it out. The reason why people are coming to help the Dunedain is because they want to help, or even they want to get some training from people who are fucking like amazing at their craft. They want to come and they want to help and support.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe a bit of opinion, but I think a lot of like media, like again, bringing up the TTRPGs again, money isn't a big thing in that, because one of the main themes of the setting is things like greed and like what's important is kind of hearth and home and family, not the money. So I mean, I actually had an issue when I ran a TTRPG for players who were like new 5th edition D&D players, and we're like, oh, let's play a Lord of the Rings game, that sounds awesome, but they were still in like D&D mode of being like, cool, we've done that, what's our reward? And I'm like, be here, you were the
hero. They like honor and loyalty is a big part of it. But I'd run, talk about writing a story, I had run so at that point I'd DM 2 D&D games, like 5e games. One was a Lord of the Rings one as well. The premise I had was like, the original Fellowship didn't show up, and you guys are going to be the Fellowship and take the ring to Mordor. And I thought that's a really cool thing to do. Turned into more of a joke campaign, fell flat, we never finished it. The second one I did, made my own world and stuff like that. And that's a campaign that take place over 4 years, and we actually finished it. But it was my first one, and I could even tell there's some stuff I wasn't like liking about it. We run one right now called Know Your Role, which is it streams. It's on its break right now, but we've had 3 seasons of it, and it's one that I think everyone who's a part of it loves it. And I don't want to speak for what the players say to me. We have 6 players, and they're really invested in it, and we really get into it. It's a really, really cool kind of stream. We have a lot of the videos posted on YouTube. You can always go watch them just to know your role.
Know your role. Like okay.
Know your role. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it all down in the description and the show notes and all that.
Yeah, so there was a D&D stream we do called Know Your Role. We'll post about when it's gonna start up again. But we took our break over the winter because I don't. If anyone's ever DM'd, you like it's I have all the respect. You should fucking love your DM no matter what, because there's so much work. Even if you're a half-ass DM, you still have to sit down at the chair and then be hit with question after question of just like, what happens if it, and then like it's stuff you can't necessarily give a yes no answer to. Like if someone like what was I trying to think of, like, so in our 5e game, a very quick thing is there's this big bad villain who he's kind of nice to the players and stuff like that, which the players don't like, and they actively try to speak to him. And so when they ask him things, you have to give him half truths. So like, you should always love your DM, because no matter what, after a 3 to 4 session, I come off here, go in the shower, and I'm just depleted of everything physically. It just fucking takes it.
It's rough, especially if you're streaming as well. Like I've done it before. I've DM'd on campaigns, I've DM'd on streams and things like that. But there's no like, it's difficult to have a downtime because you're also performing at the same time.
Yeah, you're performing, and it's like,
and you're always on the go as well. So like players, especially with 6 players, for 6 players, you're going to have usually about 4 of those players kind of just not doing anything, and it can sometimes, when you're a player, you're like, okay, I haven't done anything for 20 minutes. But in the DM's POV, you're on all the time.
You're also managing the stream, so you'll watch. I don't look at chat because that's because you'll get
not when you're playing D&D.
No, but you have to like change over stuff, so you have to have a break. You have to your layers. Sometimes your fucking stream got tanks, and you're just like, you're freaking out and go, do I just record this one then put it up and blah blah blah. So there's a lot of stuff like in there, but again. But I really like that, and the story we're telling there is really cool. We do usually host it on a Sunday at 7 p.m, but I said we're off right now. So we all came together to do that. And with Lord of the Rings, we're writing that. It's kind of like it's kind of big endeavor, because people have massive amount of respect when it comes to that thing, and everybody knows. People on the internet are super chill, and they never get angry when you get
they don't care if you get something wrong.
Quite forgiving.
Yeah, honestly, like but like
very understanding.
Yeah, like running a D&D game and running a LARP isn't really that different in fundamentally, really. And I know that the only time I would run a D&D game in a pre-established universe was Lord of the Rings, because I did have the knowledge. I remember when I was running it, I literally had the books next to me. So one good thing about, like, people really geek out about Tolkien and his appendices. Yeah. Great, they are a great, just how they are. They are a great resource. If you're running a game, you would literally, because there were times I would be like, just grab one of the books, go to the appendices, and be like, yeah, I can tell you exactly. Like, if someone's asking about some dwarvish war, it's right there, you know. So
it's super. You should have a conversation with Michael, man. That guy just loves and breathes Lord of the Rings.
We'll get him on. We'll talk Lord of the Rings. We'll talk Lord of the
I'd say Michael became kind of my co-writer, and kind of like making sure the world, and that like us making sure it's not bending, and he would tell me a lot of stuff. And then the biggest, again, you might think he's got the site, he's got a team, he's got a setting. Ian's good to fucking do the LARP, but you're now forgetting about how do people buy tickets? How are we gonna that's one of the crazier things. So again, not done any of this before. I built a website on that squarespace.com. Super useful, super good. I'd suggest doing that, because it's a certain tier where it gives you a shop, and the shop just like super easy to set up.
Yeah,
I'd made the first website. Of course, Emma hated it, and Emma wanted to change it so badly. It looked okay, but it looked like one of those websites from like a MySpace in 2010. It was a black background. It was just kind of like whatever. And I
a little counter, you are a visitor number.
little animated widgets like just hanging out in the corner. LARP flashing, LARP across the screen.
Yeah, so I'd half-assedly put this together and was like, oh, this will be good enough. And we sold tickets, but then this kind of shows how scatterbrained this group is. I was putting this together, and like with a couple other people, and I'll say this also for the first event I put together, I'll say it's for anybody else who's going to do it. I did it wrong, because I was trying to do a lot of it myself, when you should be ready to lean on whoever is trying to help you.
Delegate.
So I learned that lesson, and I'm like, okay, we can all lean on each other now. It's a much better way to run it. But whilst we were also running this, James, somebody who's also been on a couple of streams and whatnot, he's the main gamer runner of Bastion. Mm-hmm. He was like, hey, I've got this really cool idea for a post-apocalyptic LARP. And we were like, oh, okay. And then we're basically making 2 LARPs at the same time. And but James was a little bit further out, and Boom was getting closer and closer. And this is going to sound crazy, but I remember it was like godsend at the time where we were doing Boom and there was a lot of stuff going on. I got a promotion at my job, which meant I was going to be traveling quite a lot. And it was quite like I was going to different stores for my job, and I was doing quite a lot of different things. It was a much bigger responsibility when it came to that kind of thing. I did it for a couple of months, didn't really enjoy it, and I was kind of like struggling for a little bit, but I got put in a suspension for 3 months. Nothing crazy. I didn't do anything like crazy. It's just like the what was it? I'm trying to think about what it was for again. Oh yeah, I got promoted, but in the old position, there was like a fine with like I'd done 2 timesheets wrong or something like that, and it was really like it fucked up, and it was like
you got 3 months off,
such middling stuff, and they went, here's free. They were like, here you go, you naughty boy. Here's 3 months paid suspension.
Oh no! And you went, what will I do with this time?
So what did I do this time? I wrote a LARP.
So this is when we find out that your boss is like a huge Lord of the Rings fan and is desperate for a LARP and just figured out something to make it happen.
When will Ian get his ass into gear and make it work?
We're gonna have to pay him for 3 months to go do this.
I spent my time doing that, as I'm not going to waste this 3 months. I could like sit in my arse, but I did for some of it. But like I also just like wrote a LARP and kind of like again did the same thing of writing the thing. Me and Michael wrote the story, put it away, and brought it back out. But I put a thing out in my head of like it's fucking crazy to think about it. This was June 2022, and by August we had all this stuff done. But then we shut it away. I built the website, launched it so we could start telling people about it. Me and Emma went to Duncarron, filmed a bunch of social media videos, which was just me and her and my phone, and me and Kit. Emma's great with social media because that's all she does, sits and does on TikTok, so she knows more about it. she knows what she's doing.
I saw her video of you with like the cloak and everything going up and stuff. Yeah. Like, oh, that's so nice.
So we'd done a lot of those videos, and Emma was like, I think, and I was always like putting my hood up, and I was like, I think it's also the day after a storm. And Emma was like, I think you should just walk and have the cape flowing behind you. I was like, that'll look like shit. No. And then she put it together and it looks fucking awesome. But like, we got a massive hit of that on TikTok. So a lot of people kind of like, holy shit, where are they in Scotland? Stuff like that. So a lot of people interested. Then we launched the tickets, and it was like, for our first event, we sold, I think, 20 tickets on the first like hour, which is crazy for a first event that no one knows nothing about. We'd never run one before.
Yeah.
And then it becomes the scariest point of running an event, because you sell the first 20 tickets, but then you have to have, for the LARP to run, you have to sell a certain amount. And I think it was obviously to do with like Christmas and stuff like that, but from December to February, I think we sold like 5. And I was like, it's supposed to fucking launch like at this time. We're like, oh shit, I'm freaking out. But
so then, I'm like I know because a couple of people. I mean, the good thing, sometimes the bad thing about the community. The good thing about the community is it's small, right? So I actually got, because the way I heard about your LARP was literally like 2 people who know me that know I'm big into Lord of the Rings, like messaged me, be like, hey, there's a Lord of the Rings LARP. I'm in Scotland. here's the info. But unfortunately, you're fighting against a good chunk of the community is down south, where there's loads of LARPs.
Down south. So I was trying to get more people in Scotland. So we're trying to like kind of like, when we do our advertising, we did TikTok, Facebook, we were putting posters up in like places around Glasgow, places wherever we could get them, handing out flyers and Comic-Con and stuff like that. We were doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And like the person who's the manager of the Forbidden Planet in Glasgow is actually a friend of mine. Okay. So like he was like allowing that kind of stuff. So it was that a lot of people in that kind of group kind of helped us out there as well. So we were trying to put the word out as much as we can, but people have got shit to pay for. They've got other stuff going on.
Yeah.
We were asking for £100 up front. It's kind of like harder to do. So I mean, like
for us, because like it was, I think it came around about kind of this must have been like this time of year last year, I think, when we caught wind of it, roughly anyway.
It was when we were at a LARP. It was literally when we were at a LARP.
Someone literally sent me a Discord message being like, yo, this keep an eye on this. And I think I joined the Discord and everything for it. But I think for us, we'd already had pretty much a good chunk of LARPs already in the calendar. And yeah, for us, even though Robin's family is up in Scotland, it's like it's still oh yeah, we have to. It's like basically it's an extra day's drive.
Yeah.
So it's like an extra day that we've got to have someone look after the dog and things like
that.
So
that there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and also I'm sure the LARP did great, but we were like, oh, it's their first time. We'll hear the reports.
Yeah, not 100% understand that.
Yeah,
and like so we were like putting together. There was by fucking February, we're like, shit, we've not even sold. We've sold like half our tickets. I need to sell more to like to have like to pay for the site, to pay for everything else, and kind of like. I made a budget sheet of kind of like what I thought money was going to be, but I hadn't factored in that PayPal does a transaction fee, so I had got less money, so it was like a whole thing, and I was like, running an event is fun, but like that kind of background stuff of like organizing stuff, I use Google Drive for it. It's fantastic. Love Google spreadsheets; they're fantastic, and like. I was gonna say, and then what was great about using Squarespace? It sounds like an ad, but it's not.
Hey, they're not sponsoring this podcast.
No. But if they want
to,
if you want to use Squarespace, we'll just run this clip.
They so once somebody buys a ticket, they give you access to a spreadsheet that you can export and put into Google Sheets. So then you have everybody's info and stuff like that. So it makes sending out the information a lot easier. We let people write their own backstories, so people that was slowly coming in, and we were reading over them and then writing personal plot for them. What we had originally done for the first game is we let people pick skills, and there was a couple of reasons for it. Obviously, we wanted to make sure not too many people were doing certain things, and like people were kind of varied. So that just increases you going to talk to someone, because if you don't know how to like heal somebody, you have to go speak to a healer or something like that. At the time I called it the cycle of LARP, where like the best thing you can do at LARP is go out and like get hurt and make it actually like seem like you're hurt. Don't go out and you get hit and you go, I never get hit. I'm a god. It's the worst. It's the worst kind of person to be at LARP.
Yeah.
So you want to seem fragile and vulnerable.
Yeah.
So like if you go out, you get hit, you speak to the healer. The healer goes, oh, I've not got healing grenades. I need to go speak to a gardener. The gardener then goes speaks to them. They go out and there's another adventure. That just creates a whole cycle of really good gameplay.
How many times do people say Kingspoil? Oh, I thought that's what?
Man.
Kingspoil. Oh, it's
so I feel like we could, with the LARP, we couldn't just do like LARP and come. We wanted to have a little bit of things. So we put like the Hobbit spin of like you could go out and garden, because there's a little Lord of the Rings that you garden in the kind of nice, funny home style side. So we had that, and I was gonna say
it's a low magic setting as well. So like healing and things like that is like
low magic. By that you mean non-existent.
Just none, yeah.
Because we again took money, took magic, stripped them out of the game. For a game runner, godsend, because it's something you don't have to worry about. But then you have to worry about what do you have players doing. The gardening was really cool. We had like a bunch of other stuff, and so we saw what people liked in the first event, and we're doing more of that. But so by March we were selling a little bit more tickets, but I didn't think we were going to sell out. And then I think by the end of March we'd sold out. Sales just picked up again. They picked up so much that I was sad to Emma, going like, oh, I don't think the event's going to go because we can't go. And as soon as I started being sad, they started picking up. And I still to this day kind of think Emma bought all the tickets and hired a bunch of actors to come and do it, because it was just weird at the timing of me being a little sad strop to them all coming, and I was like, Emma definitely paid a bunch of people off.
You know what though? Like when I heard people talking about it, it was when there was like a few player events, and the player events were all kind of like at the start of the year, between like that sort of, it was like January, February, March sort of time, and we had like packed a load of like Empire player events into that time. And we kept hearing it getting talked about and getting mentioned and everything. And it was at Reaper's Rest, Oliver. We were with someone there who was talking a lot about it, and that would have been March. That was like.
So the paid actors were Empire. That's good to know.
Yeah.
But we'd sold out. So that this time last year, so March this year, shit, it's so weird to think about. March this year, we sold out. I was like, cool. And then we started putting like little things together of like food, whatever. But then we did the crazier thing is I got married in April. And it wasn't like, let's just go get married.
Wait, what? You got married and ran your first LARP in the same year?
Wait for it.
You are crazy.
So I proposed to Emma the year before, and then we got married the year after at this lovely venue called Fingask. It's up near Dundee. It gives you in a weird way, it gives you a really nice view of Dundee, which does not seem possible.
Wait, what?
But it's this venue called Fingask. It's a wedding venue. We went to get married there in April. Super awesome. We got married. It was a 3-day event again that Emma put together. So we did that, and then we were like, by in 2 months we're gonna run a LARP for 50 people as well. So
that's nothing after a wedding.
No, nothing after a wedding, not at all. So yeah, we'd sold out. We were doing our wedding, and then we ran the. Oh man, I also start of May quit my job. So that job I didn't like, I quit. Mm-hmm. And just went cold. I'd never done this before in my life. I never went quit and didn't have a job. But like I had a bunch of holiday pay from the other job that got paid out to me, and so I was kind of doing a little bit better there. I'd used that time to write a little bit more, kind of going up and organizing. One of the biggest things that comes out of organizing a LARP is whenever I'd seen people on other kingdoms, it's just scheduling and knowing where your players and crew are.
Yeah.
So I made this massive schedule, which had like when all the encounters were going to go out, and also like how many players, how many crew we have. So again, in Google spreadsheets, I would kind of know. I put like a formula for like 50 players and how many crew I had. So it was almost like making a rota of just like who was where and how many where I needed stuff to be, and that turned out to be one of the most important documents because I'd also linked all of the encounters on there as well. So it was just like the master sheet for the event, but I'd fucked up, and I was writing stuff, and I was like, it's just kind of crazed by it. But with my traveling job, I had my own work laptop, and I was writing on there. And then when I went back in, I see it was linked to my work email that no longer existed because they just deleted it. But I was like, fuck, can I get to my encounters? They saved. The encounters are still there, just no one owns them. And I was just like freaking out. Like, I've wrote all this stuff and it's not, I fucked up. But yeah, we had this massive kind of master sheet of like all the encounters. And then from there you can also put out a list for your crew of like, here's NPCs if people want to play. So
how many players did you have?
We had 50. I put 51 actually because I gave away a free ticket to our friend James Lamb, who does a lot of like kind of stuff in LARP. He's a really good artist. He drew a poster, and I said, "What do you want for the poster?" And James went, "Just give me a free ticket," which is really, really nice. But also, another thing I did going into this is I wanted to pay everyone who contributed to it and made sure they were. So I would hound people and go like, "No, I will pay you. I will pay you for the event." So we got we got all our stuff organized. We had like everybody was going to come, and then so I got a new job in June of that year.
It helps, yeah.
And then they were like, "We don't know if we can give you that time off because it's during training." And I was like, "Well," and I was like, "You're gonna have to because like I've been putting this together." So yeah, I got it off, put the event. Whole thing about running that event. Whole bunch of stuff happened that just kind of like had 50 players, 20 crew showed up. We had more show up on the Saturday, Sunday, but on the Saturday morning, some crew members walked off because it wasn't their thing, because they came from more of a stunt performing background. So they kind of thought,
right, okay,
they kind of thought they'd show up and then like it'd be something different. But it's hard to communicate what that LARP is going to be.
Tell me about it. It's really difficult to tell people because you can't show it to them, you know.
Yeah, if you show, the player side of it, you go like, you show up and stuff happens. You shake a crew, you show up, and the whole thing is about you helping the players. It becomes a whole selfless act of just like you. It's not really about you kind of thing. And it was kind of hard for them to communicate because they'd been a stunt performer. So when you're a stunt performer, that's like your thing is to be on camera. So it's hard to kind of like get that across, and stuff like that. So there's a kind of hard deal. Like it was kind of people had walked off. Also on the Friday night, like it was just kind of I'd done a thing, really stupid thing of playing a main character who had a very important thing to get killed. So I had to like go in and talk to people. I was also on the radio trying to coordinate stuff. So it just was like stupid clusterfuck me. Did that. And I remember I went and sat in my tent, was like sitting next to Michael and went, I never want to run a LARP as ever again in my life. This has been like the most stressful thing ever. Woke up on the Saturday morning and was like, okay, do Ian, just get to Sunday. You can then just walk away from the whole thing.
Get it done.
So went down and some people in the crew were kind of feeling a little bit kind of like seeing people walk off. And it was kind of like, what we're going to do. There's only this many crew. This guy Danny walks up, who he goes to a couple of other things. He's a beautiful looking man, and he just kind of rallied the troops, even rallied me to an fact, and just like he became a ref, went up, and he became invaluable to the entire event. Guy knew what he was doing, which then I stopped playing characters, came down and just sat next to our friend Craig, and there's not enough I can say about Craig, who is both the admin for me and for James at Bastion. He has a mind, just understands organizing, and when it comes to doing LARPs, going like, this needs to be here, that needs to be there, and stuff like that. And I was more there just to answer questions if they had popped up. So the event went off really well. From the Saturday, Sunday, people showed up. There were some people who had showed up who had never LARPed, and we gave them a brief and just like go like, hey, and they seemed like they want to come back. Half our player base were people who had never LARPed. I'd say actually half. There was about 20 people who had.
I was going to ask you that because obviously trying to get people, because you know a lot of this your staple LARPers are not only are they down south, the ones that are probably in Scotland are already like they've already planned to travel down south or abroad to do LARPs, so you got to get them from somewhere else.
We had a bunch of support from people who came and bought tickets, like Millie, Dave, Ellie, and stuff like that. Had like and Callum, they've been like, oh, we'll trust you. They've seen me at Northern Kingdoms, and I play a character called Baudeval, and they all love that character, but they can't trust me enough to make a LARP, which is a crazy thing to think. But they were like, cool. We had a lovely group of people that came up, stuff like that. But a lot of people, it was their first time LARPing. I remember one guy saying to me, he never went to the LARP before because he thought it was all like fireball beanbags. But like, it was. He said Rome was what he wanted because he said it was very immersive. When you go up to the fort, when you look up above the walls, there's nothing. You might see a small like buffet or a small house, kind of like far away, but that kind of just fits into the world. At the back of the fort, there's all this forest that some of it's been cut down, so even that kind of feeds into the world of like, people are cutting down trees. So it all just kind of feels really, really nice. But I say it's also fun in Karen. It's got a lot of good woods they can use that are private land, but the really good woods are in public land. So it kind of gets harder. People are dog walking.
Yeah.
But people were loving it. But like we were obviously making sure people like to do LARP in private, which is fine.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's like LARP is actually really easy because of the immersion, So like it's massively easy, especially when you go like big like Empire and things like that. Because like if you're the only one, if you, it's difficult to feel uncomfortable being in costume and LARPing when hundreds of people around you are in costume and LARPing. Like you feel weird not. And people naturally do it because it's playing pretend. It is playing pretend, and it's silly when you observe it, but when you're in it, it's very natural. Obviously, some of the stuff like the combat and the beanbags, that's not really. I mean, there's a part of LARP, but it's not
part of LARP.
It's not the like the fundamental part. The fundamental part of LARP is like, I am this. I'm playing a role. I'm role playing. I'm playing a role. I am this person. I'm talking to this other person who's playing a role. And that doesn't have to include beanbags.
And it's a lot of effort and a lot of it's a lot of effort to do that kind of play that role. And also like it's really when you're doing it with somebody else and you're almost like you're acting, but it's like improv. It's just like constant. But you can kind of with Lord of the Rings also it makes kind of like a safer environment of like there's nothing be crazy that's going to be brought up, like safer like stuff like kind of abuse or anything like that, stuff that would trigger people. Yeah, that's
the one thing I do like about the setting, and I totally understand why, because I would pick that setting, being like, all right, I don't have to deal with the stuff that a Game of Thrones LARP has to deal with.
But But I have seen some players, not at WoW, but some players at different LARPs go like, they bring it up out of nowhere kind of casually, which is not the thing to do because you don't know what somebody else has been through, you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to trigger someone. So when we did have like an area where if someone felt overwhelmed, they could go to and they could go chill out. That happens to everyone. But one of the biggest compliments we got was that somebody came on their own and they said they'd fully brought stuff in their tent in case like something happened and they need to go chill out somewhere, and they use their phone kind of as a crutch. Yeah. But she said off on the first night she threw her phone away and then didn't look at it again for the full weekend. She hadn't looked at her phone like that long. Her anxiety left. She said it was one of the craziest experiences. It was such a cool, nice thing to hear of someone like.
I think you're doing LARP right if that is the response you're getting, because I will say, like, I'm addicted to that phone that most people are. The only time I do not look at it is when I'm at a LARP. That's the only time I'm not obsessed with technology. Mm-hmm. I'm attached to the technology. Yeah. But LARP brings that out in you because you're living an experience with people. So if that's the type of reaction you get, you did something right.
It was such a nice thing to hear for like people having that event. People being their first event, no one was like going like, "Oh, I don't know what to do." Because this is going to sound crazy that I said this, but the thing of big meeting at the start, I had said stuff like the cycle of LARP, make sure everybody's kind of stuff brought on the traffic lights system, which is like very quickly. Mm-hmm. You're in kind of like a conversation with someone. They say, if you're not sure about it, you say green, they say green, good to continue. They say yellow, kind of like step off, kind of like don't like push it any further. Red just means you cut off any communication. If you say it in a conversation and you just can't. If someone said red to me, I would walk away, and then like later on I'd go up to them and go like, hey, are you okay? But red just means you cut it off. So we had that at WOM as well. But what I also said at WOM to a bunch of new LARPers, a bunch of seasoned LARPers, I said my main rule here, and if you follow this rule, you'll be okay, is don't be a dick. Don't actively go out there and go like, I'm going to go for this because a dick because it's funny, or I'm going to do like annoy someone, whatever. Don't do that because
I'm going to do this because my character would do this.
That's bullshit. Don't be a dick. Like that falls under the don't be a dick. So I said, don't be a dick. Don't be the guy sitting in the corner waiting for someone to come up to you and speak to you about your dark storyline. No one's going to do it. It's everyone's tried it. It doesn't work. Just go out there. If you need to speak to someone, no one here is gonna go fuck off. Everyone said they met a lot of new people and had a great time of just like everyone kind of got the message of don't be a dick. It's one of the best messages you can say to people. So the full event went really well. Again, background stuff happens, and it was really about like how we evolved them and how we changed with them and how we changed some of the game systems we thought were going to work, but then didn't work on the day.
Yeah.
So it got to the Saturday night. I remember me and Michael were walking down from the fort to go lock up the main office. And I turned to Michael and from the complete opposite went, how do we run more? The Saturday just kind of rejuvenated and kind of got me in a better spirit. So everything ran well. People were having a good time. People were just like really, really responsive and stuff like that. I'd never thought of asking the players to come down and be crew, but some people wanted to actively be really grimy orcs and stuff like that. So I was like, if you want to come and do it, fuck it, we're all here to have fun. Let's all just go and do that kind of thing. Yeah. So people came down, had fun. The first event ended, and I said to Emma, I knew that when I planned the LARP, there was going to be a point that I'd had fixed in my brain where I knew everyone was going to have left. It would only be me in the venue, and it would just be like, that'd be it. It was kind of like quiet. And that point did happen when I was cleaning up and like taking us out. It was just me going, holy shit, I done it.
We did it. Yeah,
thing of like, I knew there was gonna be that point, and it's kind of like such a crazy feeling of like, I've done this. Do I want to continue doing this? That I ran my first event. So then I like took another 3 months off, just kind of thinking about it and like kind of like refocus my brain. Started in another new job. So the job I'm currently in, and also
I feel like you're in a cycle here.
And also me and Emma bought a house. So within this year, I've had 3 jobs, married, ran an event, and bought a house.
Yeah.
And my fucking brain is like what's
that can only get easier from now.
What's crazier is so then after that we had the house, it was all settled down. I said, fuck it, we're gonna run event 2. So then I spoke to the event organizer, and now we have our date for next year in October. We've increased our player count to 70.
Yeah, I was to ask that because you'll probably, that's the thing. Once you run it once, then people come back and talk about it, and hopefully people hear about it on this as well, and go, oh yeah, that sounds up my street, and I can plan for it. So what's the kind of story wise? Is it a continuing story? Is it going to be a new
it's a continuing
story. New scenario? Okay,
same on from Dundee. Dundee. Dunedain. So it's the continuation from the Dunedain story of just like them, how they're living out that kind of stuff, and we're following some stories on, but we're bringing stuff in. And I've spoke to everyone, and we all kind of agree that Wome is going to be a free ARC event. So it's only going to be free events. A couple of reasons for that is like, so the first one was to kind of show that we could do it, that we could do this. And the second one's really important because we can show that we can like take on feedback and we can change the system and we can like still keep it the same, but we can continue going. And the third one is seeing if we can end an event, because there's a lot of LARPs that struggle with kind of going on for too long, or they kind of like hammer out. But there's free books. Yeah, if you have free events, kind of mirrors that, and we kind of want to show that we can end an event and we can kind of reconcile a story really well.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of use Wome as the kind of child of like, we did this really well, this should run for other things. And it's not saying we're not going to go back to Lord of the Rings. We still have ideas for that kind of thing. We could always go back to this premise and just run it again and go on for more than 3 events and stretch it out. But we're rebooting it 3 events this time just so we can prove to ourselves that we can do it. So yeah, it's only going to be 3 events. So the second event is in October. It's a continuation. It's a year after in-game. More people have come back because they want to help support the Dunedain. Stuff's going on, but the main premise we have right now is on the first night, it's going to be Lily Padfoot, who's a hobbit who lives in there. There's 2 hobbits. There's Fia Greenthumb and there's Lily Padfoot, who live in the fort and have lived there almost as long as the Dunedain. And the Dunedain just kind of respect them, also kind of fear them. I kind of like with hobbits, it's their fort as much as ours. But it's going to be Lily Padfoot's birthday, and it's going to be a big birthday celebration. Nothing's going to happen. Nothing crazy is going to happen. It's just going to be a cool birthday celebration. We're going to have a Hobbit birthday party, which is like again, Lord of the Rings is cool combat, the fucking Reign of the Rohirrim and stuff like that, like the cool like epic moments and speeches. But man, when you start Fellowship of the Ring and Gandalf is taking his wagon ride through the fucking Shire, who has not been like, that's the kind of life I want to fucking live. That's what I want to do. I want to go to Bible's birthday party, which is something we're going to try to recreate.
Oh, okay,
It's not going to be as big as that because we are still a small events company. But we're gonna try and do something very similar with that, with all the talented people we have behind us. So that's the instance of the first event of like, there's going to be a hot birthday party, but there are going to be some evil shenanigans, we're going to say. And this, I don't want to tell them the full story, but we have a whole thing, a new enemy for the players to fight, which kind of again, I was really afraid of it bringing in because I was like, Michael, if we just fucking snap the lore and throw it to fucking the Rings of Power, like if we gone that far, and Michael,
we got 2 hours in before we mentioned the Rings of Power. I'm proud of us.
I was deeply afraid. I was deeply afraid I was going to go that route. Which I like Rings of Power. I don't mind it. It's like having it's almost that, and I can kind of enjoy it. But it's not.
It's like you got Teen Titans, then Teen Titans Go. You know, it's like
What a way to compare them. The Peter Jackson movies are just like untouchable piece of fucking art. They're just
like you compare anything to them, and it's like just... you know what are you gonna do? Like it's like if you compare anything to that, you're just gonna be that's terrible. Like no, these were.
And there's some people who even say that. There's some people who will say, I'm just gonna say some people who will say the Peter Jackson movies are better than the books because he's taken out some things and he changes things and makes them a lot better. There's some people who will say that.
There is a good argument for that. We won't get into it because we're nearing the end. But I mean, there's definitely a good argument for they solve problems. But I mean, my opinion on it is that because I read the books and watched the films around about the same time, they actually are the best companions for each. I think they actually
Yeah.
Not only is one better than the other, I think they actually go together. Like I actually think they're like companions of each other. Like the book is like a written companion for the films. The films are like a representation of what's in the lore of the books, you know?
Yeah. So we're going to be doing event 2 for Lord of the Rings, and it's going to be more of kind of what people like, bigger player base. Want to do a lot, like I said, the birthday party. That'll be fun just to go to. Not again, you said LARP isn't just about the combat and about the fucking whatever. Sometimes it's about just like a nice little time and people get kind of come together in a different world where you don't have to be yourself. I like myself, and it's healthy, but it's also healthy to go. Maybe I want to be somebody else for a little while and kind of like give myself my own rest, which is what I'd say. Why I really do and go to LARP is just kind of we all live in this world, and the older you get, the shitter it gets. It's the kind of No Country for Old Men of just like it gets worse. It doesn't get better. Where like there's like
unfortunately, folks.
When you're an adult, more stuff gets piled on, and you get to do the stuff you like less. Just the way the world is. But if no one's ever tried LARPing, I wouldn't say think about it in terms of like, oh, I get to go be a knight and fight the dragon, or I get to do this. It just gives yourself a break of just like to do anything else in this world. You kind of just get to go and you get to go be the person, and everyone else is like happy to see you and happy to help you. And no one's like, well, that's got attacks involved in that or something like that. It's just like everyone kind of like it's a fun time. And if you're going to try LARP, that's the best way to think about it. It's like I want to go and try to be someone different and have just like overall kind of healthy kind of fun time. It's just like it's honestly it's like being a kid again, and it's to find this kind of hobby again. It bankrupt me, but it's also like it's like being a kid and I get to go play in the woods with my friends, and it's like the best time ever. It's like and if you're like thinking they're going like, oh, maybe it's not for me. I can 100%. If you go to it, it's gonna be for you.
It's for everyone.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
I
think that was perfect. I think we should end on that, Ian, because that's good. All right, so you've mentioned the event next year. Do you want to plug anything else? You want to tell people where they can find you or WOM or your stream again?
Yeah, so I run WOM. We're going to start. I run WOM, which is towards the layer for LARPing. Everything's next year. Tickets go on sale in March next year, March 2025. We also run, so I'm part of a company now called Know Your Role. So we've taken the name D Group, and we now have a company, registered company. We're big boys. We're like we put on events. So we also now have Bastion, which is part of our company, which is our post-apocalyptic. If that's more of your vibe, kind of Last of Us vibes, it's very, very good. It's not like it's a very, very safe place to go to. Like you said, there's kind of stuff like that. It's really fun. It's super fucking scary. It's really, really fun. I'd honestly, if you're really that kind of vibe, go there. We're also, and next year, maybe 2026, going to be running a different LARP called Xeno, which is
really like the sound of that. Yeah,
based on Alien.
Yeah,
inspired by Alien.
Nice.
So all the but go to this event. You're not going to be like having combat. You're not going to. You're all ship people. Like you're all part of the same ship. You're going to like hang. But there's going to be something on the ship that can fucking hunt you. So we've got a really, really cool idea for it. We have now found our venue, we think. So we have like, that's all going well. If you just heard me talk about how we made WOM, think about, I know how to do that better. So we're now like going from down that loop. So yeah, we've got so much shit going on now that we're really, really excited going forward. So if we have our Know Your Role website as well, it's just knowyourrole.com. Which we can find all the information there. It's getting updated constantly. But yeah, we've got plenty going on.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put all that down in the show notes in the description. Thanks again for coming on, Ian. Honestly, I could have, especially when it's Lord of the Rings and LARP, we probably could have gone for like five hours.
I'll come and talk about anything. I'll even talk about the stuff we were talking about this before we went live.
We'll come on. We'll talk about.
We can make it just an entire series just with you. We'll just like keep going teach
We'll talk about Scottish towns. We'll educate people about Scottish towns and how terrible they are.
Survive.
Scotland's beautiful. Scotland is beautiful. It's an amazing place. Anyway, thanks again for coming on, Ian. We'll say goodbye to the podcast, everyone. See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for stopping by. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe everywhere you can find to Having to Roll. I'll put all of the links that we discussed today down in the show notes and the description. So if you're interested in going to Warriors Middle-earth, any of the other games that Eoin and his team does, also the links to his stream that's upcoming as well. Until the next time though, we love you very much and stay safe.